The Jesse Blake Sports Report with Jesse Blake.
Tonight we got as close to a playoff game as you can get in the regular season as the Vancouver Canucks took on the Calgary Flames. And coming into tonight, the two teams with less than 20 games to play in the regular season were separated by only 1 point in the standings, battling for the final wildcard spot in the Western Conference. Calgary came into tonight with 70 points in the standings in 63 games. Vancouver has had 69 points in 64 games. And the game ended up Vancouver won in a shootout 4-3 over the Flames. So that means they both have 71 points at this time in the standings, but Calgary owns the tiebreaker in terms of regulation wins and points percentage because they have played less games. So they still maintain that last wildcard spot, but they're now tied in points with the Vancouver Canucks. We will see how that race unfolds the rest of the way in the regular season. It is going to be a doozy between these two teams. And we got a doozy tonight. We got a true doozy of a game with lots of different highs and lows in this game. Nazem Kadri was unbelievable. He had a beautiful goal in this game. He had a ton of shots on goal. He was everywhere, hitting, making plays all night long. Jonathan Huberdeau had a power play goal and a shorthanded goal in the same period, which was unreal. Dustin Wolf, who is the main reason that the Calgary Flames are in the playoffs right now, has stood on his head again and could only do so much to keep them in the game, and eventually they got ousted in that shootout, as I mentioned, but he did his part, especially at the end. Spectacular save on Connor Garland to keep the game tied and force the shootout. He got help from a post towards the end of the overtime period as well when Brock Besser came in on the 3-on-3 overtime and wired one off the post with like seconds left in that OT. We saw Elias Pettersson get his third goal in 4 games. He wasn't getting a ton of minutes early on, but later on, Rick Tocchet trusted him a little bit more, setting him out a little bit more, and he capitalized and got a goal late in the third to tie the game and get the game to overtime for the Canucks. And the Canucks battled back in this game. This was a fantastic comeback win for the Canucks, and they haven't had many of those this season. They haven't been a team that's been able to battle back in these games. So for them, what a confidence booster. And last game, the Canucks lost Tyler Myers to an injury. And now this game, they lose Elias Pettersson, defenseman, to an injury. And that's what we're here to talk about. And Connor Zary definitely 100% in my eyes deserves a 2-game suspension. Before I even break down, that's where I'm going to land on this thing. I think Connor Zary, for his hit here on Pettersson, deserves a 2-game suspension. So let's talk about how this came about. Let's show some film for those of you watching on the Jesse Blake Sports Report YouTube channel. Let's show little stills about what happened. This whole thing started because defenseman Pettersson knocked down Nazem Kadri. He had a huge hit on Kadri. He laid down the shoulder right into the body of Nazem Kadri, who was entering the blue line, knocked him flat on his rear end. It was a clean hit, and there was a kerfuffle, as there always is in these days in the NHL when a player lays a big, clean hit. Connor Zary later in the first period decides to get revenge on Pettersson for the big, giant, clean hit that he laid on Nazem Kadri earlier in the game. Connor Zary comes from the side behind, like the side of the shoulder of Pettersson, raises his stick from the angle that we have. It looks like he raises his stick and his 2 hands to the side of the neck head area of Pettersson and knocks him to the ground. Now, the officials in the game gave Zary a 2-minute penalty for interference, and Pettersson ended up finishing the first period, but then did not return for the rest of the game. Credit again to the Canucks for winning this game shorthanded. This is the last thing the Canucks need as they push towards the playoffs, is a long-term injury for Elias Pettersson. He's a defenseman that has become very important to their team. They already have an injury to Tyler Myers, as I mentioned. So the Canucks don't need this. And Connor Zary here across the line. This is a non-hockey play. The puck was not near the area. That's why he got 2 minutes for interference. There is no attempt to make a hockey play in this instance. There's no body check being laid. All of the contact by Connor Zary is being made with his 2 hands with a stick to the head of Elias Pettersson. This is a clear, dirty play. I think it's 2 or 3 games. I know I said 2 games, but talking myself into 3 games right now. We just saw Trevor Zegras get 3 games. I can easily see Zary get 3 games here. I don't know if we should go any higher than 3 games. He's a first-time offender, so no history. I think the Department of Player Safety will give him 3 games in this instance. It's dirty, unnecessary. He deserves to be suspended, and I think he will be. And I want to tack on here just a little note about the Canucks and their toughness, because I saw a lot of Canucks fans disappointed with the reaction of the Canucks players on the ice. One of their players was run over by Connor Zary, and it seems like nobody on the ice stood up for their guy. It seems like nobody took exception with Zary taking a run at Elias Pettersson. And I know hockey players hate the S word, that word being soft, and they hate using it. But in that instance, the Canucks should have reacted. There should have been something, as we saw the Flames go to the defense of Nazem Kadri when he was knocked down in a clean hit. We didn't see that same reaction to Connor Zary's hit on Elias Pettersson, which was an actually dirty hit. So Canucks fans, you should be frustrated with the reaction from your team tonight, because you ended up winning the game and you got the 2 points in the standings, and Calgary got 1 and everything, and you could all make the playoffs and everything could be good. But in that one instance, you want to see some pushback. Who's there on the ice to lead this team in a way to get pushback? And you didn't see it. And like I said, you won the war, but you lost that battle in terms of showing some toughness on the ice. And I know a lot of Canucks fans out there are looking for that from their team, and they didn't get it there. So I feel like that's worth a note. Let me know what you think. Let me know what you think about the toughness of the Canucks, because I think it's lacking a little. And in a playoff game, in a playoff atmosphere, you want to be able to display that. They showed it on the scoreboard by winning the game 4-3. Like, you can't take that away from them. They won the game. Who cares, I guess, if you don't get in this little battle with Zary, but I care a little about moving forward and your team being tough and winning playoff games if you can get to the playoffs. So let me know how many games you think Connor Zary is going to get. I think we all agree that a suspension here is warranted. Subscribe to the Jesse Blake Sports Report YouTube channel if you are not subscribed. Hit like on this video if you have not hit like. You can also listen to this on your favorite podcast app. That is it for me right now. Good night from Toronto.
And that is how it's done.
The Jesse Blake Sports Report with Jesse Blake.
Jesse Blake, the guy that likes to hear his name twice in one sentence. Sure, I know him. No, he doesn't have an ego at all.